Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. I'm just going to jump right in here with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice. There are further disclaimers in the description below. So I'm so glad to be back with you here again today, able to get more videos up this week. Thank you so much for the support. You supporting the channel makes it happen. I'll plug at the end of the channel, but I just want to say thank you so much that you're keeping this channel up and going. We have some really great immediate news. That there's so much I'm going to cover. We're going to get into the Disease X at the World Economic Forum. We're going to get into Porton Down, the U.S. now forming an alliance under the One Health alliance out of the UN to use what is going to be developed and researched at the bioweapons facility there at Porton Down in England. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about Ginkgo Works and this the Gates and Bayer funding of soil GMO organisms to basically colonize the soil of the planet with synthetic biology, and so much more besides. So I'll just jump in, and here we go. We have a huge win, which is the number one, I think, most important news here. But before I get into that, this has to do with the NACs, that you all should take this incredible win for having participated in resisting the Natural Asset Corporation move to be designated on the New York Stock Exchange as an investment tool with the SEC. So I'm going to get into that in a second, but I just wanted to say this. We have a great news out of Florida, and this is Operation Renewed Hope. It's been going on for quite a while, fighting the child trafficking and human trafficking in Florida. They just arrested 123 new defendants that were accused of human trafficking, child trafficking. It included a nurse involved in this, a teacher, and a spiritual leader. Still not clear where that spiritual leader's, what their deal is. So I'll look into that more, but that just came out. So that's very exciting, and saving more children as, of course, we face this massive child trafficking pandemic, which is our invasion at the southern border, organized child trafficking by the Biden administration in accordance with the World Economic Forum's UN policies on migration. And so let's jump in here. The big news, okay, the NACs that I've been railing on about, and you still need to call, you still need to go to americanstewards.us, you still need to go to sovereigntycoalition.org and put your comments into the SEC about natural asset companies. But we have a big win here today, where the deadline being tomorrow for comments. So do it today. Just keep plug it, put your fingers in the dike there. We need to just keep filling them with knowing that they can't get across this human wall of resistance to steal America through this natural asset company seizure, which is, of course, monetizing our natural resources, air, land, and water, to not be used to produce anything productive for the American people, and be managed globally, and then, of course, owned basically globally to then use the resources that are ours. And so we got a huge win. All right, what has happened is that the New York Stock Exchange has temporarily pulled their request for NACs to get listed by the SEC as a new form of trading on the stock exchange. It's temporary. The SEC says, well, we're going to delay the ruling. We're not going to take this up right now. Huge win, people. If you put your comments in, be super proud of yourself. This is amazing. And again, if you haven't, still we need your comments. If you go to americanstewards.us, they have all the comments that have already gone to the SEC. You can build on them. You can copy and paste. You can do whatever you need to do to get your word known there. And so that is very exciting. So from there, I'm going to move into what is, huge win there, right? Yay, we did it. There's, all those Americans out there that want to resist the globalist takeover of our country, and that's a huge win. We should be super psyched. All right, so moving on. Today, I'm going to get into this situation with what's going on at the World Economic Forum. We have some great rebelnews.com out of Canada has been doing great reports on WEF reports.com, where they're showing all their scrums, right? Where they go and they approach different leaders. They approached Tedros. They approached, I think one of the most potent ones really was with Christopher Elias, who is the president of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who we had Ezra Levant, I'll link it below, this video where he is with the head of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and asking him just normal questions. He won't answer any of them, but he manages this $70 billion foundation that is ruining the lives of humans across the planet, and literally, as you'll see in what I'm about to talk about, threatening the very life of plant life on this planet with their new alliance with Bayer, Monsanto, which is now just Bayer, to put in this GMO soil bacterias that will colonize the soil and will only be able to grow things that come out of their laboratories, and is basically a threat to all life on Earth. Little things like that. So let's jump in. Let me just maybe finish off on I just want to send you Marlo Oaks. I just want to give big ups. Marlo Oaks out of Utah, the treasurer out of Utah, was so huge in getting this win against the NACs. He should be hugely applauded. He was able to get 27 states AGs on board to put this out. That's huge. A few dozen treasurers of states. And so they felt the burn, right? The SEC felt the burn. The globalists felt the burn. They felt that the United States populace is resisting them. And that's just huge. All right. So I will move on I think first I'm going to get into the Porton Down stuff. And because the Biden administration has just announced through the One Health UN initiative that they're teaming up, forming an alliance with the UK Ministry of Health, the Department of Health there at the UK, that they are going to, of course, be fighting biological, they want biological safety is what they're saying, but really we have this biowarfare P4 labs there at Porton Down in the UK and Wiltshire that is one of the most notorious places for doing the opposite of protecting our biology. And so let's just jump in there, as we know that the U.S. has absolutely aligned to use this Disease X formation. I'm going to get into the Disease X panel with the World Economic Forum. We're going to cover it. So Porton Down's Disease X Biowarfare Lab, 2,800 square feet there, where they put in a vaccine development unit, a VDEC, okay, a vaccine development unit with 200 scientists housed on site. They're basically sequestered there. Only 20 scientists are allowed to get into the really sticky biowarfare development situations. And this is their Disease X Biowarfare Lab. And so their big studies here are avian flu, monkeypox, Congo hemorrhagic fever. That's largely a tick-borne, fever that is, of course, has like a 30% death rate. So this is all gain of function, all right? And what they say in the panel that I'm going to talk about with the World Economic Forum's Disease X panel, they basically call this panel it's literally called Planning for Disease X. All right, and I'll read that. I'll get to that in a second. But it's called Planning for Disease X. It used to have things like prevention in there, like words like back in the summer of 2023 when the World Economic Forum met. They would say how to prevent, the next Disease X pandemic. Now it's just preparing for Disease X. And so the UK Health Security Agency is who is in charge of this this biowarfare lab there at Porton Down. And Porton Down in Wiltshire is renowned for, it used to be the chemical weapons development, super top secret, the most protected real estate in the UK is Porton Downs. And so the UK Health Security Agency says they have their 100 days mission launch where they can create these mRNA shots to deal with any kind of virus that gets out there, or bacteria or whatever. But what I've seen in the news, different news stations out of India, the UK, etc., they're talking locally like this is going to be an avian flu based situation. And of course, they're describing it like it's going to be like the Spanish flu, finally admitting that the Spanish flu is really a bacterial pneumonia rather than a virus. And the avian flu is a bacterial situation. They try to focus on the viral aspect. But the situation here is how to spread bacteria that is life-threatening. And I think I just want to throw in here, with Gonzo Lira, as I've been talking about his murder in the Ukrainian prisons and the biolabs there in Ukraine, and this development of disease X at Porton Down, and this focus on the avian flu being kind of central and foremost for the gain of function, that he supposedly died of double pneumonia. Isn't that interesting? For entertainment purposes only, just putting out there, could he have been, given this double pneumonia, avian flu, or whatever, this developed bioweapon to cause his demise and death, his eventual one, which we don't get to see his body. We don't know how much he was tortured. But I think it's an interesting timing that the big focus here is a Spanish flu type situation and double pneumonia, avian flu being part of all that, with the moonshot there at Porton Down to create disease X. And so we get we get them talking about that they're co-located with the Defense Science and Technology Lab, kind of like our DARPA. And of course, we know DARPA is the one that really created the lethal dose shots, the jabs for COVID. But they're saying that we're going to build these biowarfare weapons and the vaccines in the same place here at Porton Down. They have 3 separate P4 labs, or 3 or 4, all of them extremely high-level toxins, viruses, bacteria, fungi. I think fungi is a huge one here too that we need to kind of prepare for in getting your body rid of fungal elements in what goes on with the geoengineering, like I've been talking about. So Dr. Bassam Hollis is the Porton Down's deputy director, and he said that avian flu is their number one focus and concern. That's the deputy director at Porton Down's, Bassam Hollis, a Spanish flu level bacterial pneumonia. And again, Gonzo Lira just happened to die of double pneumonia there in the Ukraine prison in Kharkov, which is like, the bioweapons labs in Ukraine, as they are going to build back better, completely raise Ukraine into making it a fully IA-run smart nation, Internet of Bodies, intra-body nano networks, all of it for what their rollout is that they describe in the Disease X panel today at Davos. And so what they're saying, they're practicing gain of function research to basically, amplify all these agents. One of them is Lassa, a hemorrhagic fever out of West Africa, an arena virus, and then Nipah. Okay, so we'll get into those in later videos as we kind of, drill down. But so I thought it was very interesting that at the beginning of World Economic Forum, we have Noah Harari, right? You've all Noah Harari, the lap cat there of Klaus Schwab, saying that we're going to have, a disease X generated by AI. Okay, putting that out there, saying that AI will be used to develop these viruses, to amplify them, to discover things about them, and that he is saying that basically AI will create disease X. I think that's very interesting. We also see Harari saying that, and he's the big transhumanist out of Israel who, wants to promote longevity and augmentation of humanity. Humans are basically null and void. We don't need them anymore. We just need to get your consciousness uploaded to a server. And so basically, Harare also had to say about Trump that he is the number one threat to the global rollout. And of course, Trump is in New Hampshire tonight. Come fresh out of this ridiculous ridiculous court day in New York City, where he has been, of course, dealing with this new lawsuit out of E. Jean Carroll, a defamation lawsuit. And the judge there, that same creepy judge, has denied him being able to delay the trial one day so that he can go to Melania's mother's funeral, who she passed away a few days ago. And I think that's very interesting. And before I move on, I will say this. We have some really strange things. So we now know Lloyd Austin supposedly working from home. That's what you want your Secretary of Defense to be. Somebody who's laid up with flesh-eating bacteria and massive amounts of complications with operations to do with possible turbo cancer with prostate, and for entertainment purposes only. But now we hear also that King Charles, very interestingly, not present at Davos. I told you a few days ago, there's whispers he's going to abdicate to Prince William. They want to build back the royalty better and get Prince William as a more friendly, a friendlier face on the royals. And that King Charles now has been hospitalized with some prostate issues, enlarged prostate. But we know this turbo cancer thing seems to hit the prostate really hard in the men. And so it's very interesting to see that he has been hospitalized. We also have a princess, what is her name? Princess Catherine of Wales, also hospitalized, with abdominal pain. And that's kind of funny because Lloyd Austin, he got his prostate surgery and then he had massive abdominal pain and had to go back into hospital. And seeing her go in, the Princess of Wales, Catherine. And then we see also the abdication in Denmark of Queen Margrethe, to be replaced by her son in Denmark. So the royals are having a big upset, whatever's going on there. And I won't keep fixating on it, but I think it's very interesting, this interesting absence. Usually the royals are huge at the WEF, certainly at Bilderberg, but they're also usually hugely present there. They have to do their speeches about depopulation and, all of that. We must lower the number of humans. Crickets there because they're not there. And so getting back to Porton Down. So, Basim Hallis says that avian flu, this bacterial pneumonia, is number one. They're getting ready for it. And there's several P4 labs with only 20 scientists having ultimate top secret clearance to get into the center of what's going on with the biowarfare there. All the machines in the lab are named after Star Wars characters, we hear, in this Disease X lab specifically, named after Star Wars characters. That's the level of these people. And the AI creation of Disease X, they're running AI through these gain-of-function weaponization programs and in the research about the viruses, so that's a little bit scary. Porton Down, back in the day, has killed hundreds of servicemen, since, I guess, World War II, even before that, where they were lied about what was being tested on them for the common cold, using different bioagents to test on them and kill them. And they also developed the VC nerve agent that killed Kim Jong-un's person there, his dad or his uncle, I can't remember. And so I think this is very important to understand that as the U.S. is announcing an alliance with the U.K. for the One Health initiative out of the UN, that's what's going on at Porton Down. And so then we move on to what's going on with Bayer, used to be Monsanto, used to be IG Farben before that, of the Zyklon B gas, and, who brought us glyphosate and everything else. Well, we have Bayer buying, huge, massive interest with about $15 billion into a company called Ginkgo Bioworks. And this is very important because this is GMO soil microbes that are meant to replace nitrogen fertilizer. and hence why they've been shutting down all the nitrogen fertilizer plants. And, I'm not one for chemical fertilizers at all, but I'm also not one for world starvation. This is a way to create GMO'd soil microorganisms that are completely untested, basically can be extremely harmful, which Ginkgo Bioworks themselves, in their own statement to the SEC, had said, we don't know what could happen here. There's concern that it could contaminate all soil and cause a global farming collapse. Basically your dust bowls, right? A threat to all plant life, plus human and animal life, but a threat to killing all plant life. And we're going to get into that where we saw this happen. And this is so much to do with, of course, Bayer and Gates and the companies that are pushing, growing vaccines in corn and soybeans, these mass-produced foodstuffs and fuelstuffs, right? And huge at the World Economic Forum's Disease X panel was the Minister of Health out of Brazil, who her last name's Lima. She's the director of the health ministry there, basically saying that Lula's presidency is so important there in Brazil because it's going to allow them to be able to go forward with this destruction of the Amazon, partnering with Pfizer, whereas we had, of course, Bolsonaro had pulled out, tried to prevent Pfizer from trying to leverage their natural assets, including the Amazon, where they're going to do all its vaccines within the ethanol production, within the food production. And I want to bring people's attention to things like Epicite. Way back in like 2001, we had Epicite, that was the company out of San Diego that was able to produce corn that had spermicide in it, that would literally, once ingested, would attack the vas deferens, right, the testes, and would kill the sperm. And we have Dr. Burkhardt out of R&D Burkhardt out of Germany, a video I'll link below, where he said basically he knows from having investigated multiple corpses of men who died from the V, where he found that there was 0 sperm alive, and that the sperm had been replaced, taken over, colonized by the spike protein. He openly says in his testimony that women who want to get pregnant, who want to have children, need to not have sex with men who have been vaccinated, saying that it's not only about, family planning or, choosing the right mate. It's sex randomly, if you're not in a relationship or whatever, whoever, that the sperm or the ejaculations of these men can send these spike proteins into the body and literally destroy the eggs, that they can kill the eggs in the women's ovaries. And so that's really important to understand. This is all part of the same thing here. And so getting in more into Ginkgo Bioworks, so they got basically bought up. Well, they didn't get totally outright owned, but they formed a massive buy-in coalition through Bayer. And so let's get into them a little bit more now. And again, Chris Elias, right, who's controlling the Gates Foundation, the director, mega multimillionaire Chris Elias, he questioned at Davos about this, or just questioned in general about so many things to do with Gates, would not respond to one question from Rebel News, from Ezra Levant. And so Ginkgo Bioworks, their situation is GMO soil microbes, genetically modified soil microbes. And basically, we should just call them Franken microbes, just like we have the Franken V, whatever. These are Franken microbes. These are scotch taped together organisms that are meant to invade the soil of the earth. So we have the Earth's microbiome potentially collapsing because of these particulates already preventing nutrient uptake. The geoengineering is already collapsing the soil microbiome, the microbiome of the Earth. okay, is the soil. It's what, in our guts, we need our microbiome to be functional. We need to have healthy bacteria that is destroying pathogens coming into our bodies. And this is already being, as Dane Wigington has outlined and done so much research with testing the soil in Shasta County, California, that the soil there is already half dead. Like it's dead. It's not producing its microbiome. And this has largely to do with the geoengineering, the spraying of aluminum, strontium, barium, all these heavy metals destroying the soil. But this gets into, if you look at the monocropping of the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, where they destroyed the soil that way too with the glyphosate and all of the other pesticides of Bayer. Well, these GMO soil microbes that they're attempting to develop with Ginkgo Bioworks it's not instead of pesticides. It's not, oh, yay, now we have a cool new way to help the soil out and it's like organic. No, this is to go with the pesticides, to work in conjunction with the pesticides so that plants growing in that soil can only grow with the added use of the pesticides in the GMO plants themselves. It's all being interconnected, interdeveloped, that the plants will depend on the soil GMO microbes and the pesticides all in one, okay, all in one evil oil of how to kill our health and basically destroy God's natural order of life on Earth, to do with how the plants, the bugs, the insects, the bees, how it all works to create this incredible ecosystem that gives us life, gives everything life all the way up the food chain in the incredible order that God has created. And so they in their notes to the SEC, they had to file with the SEC. What they said was, we basically have no idea, okay, what these GMO soil microbes, these Franken microbes, will do to human health and animal health or the earth, and that they could escape, and we can't guarantee that they won't. I mean, it's all right there. I'll link a video below where if you go in, you can connect exactly to the SEC filing and see for yourself. And the Federal Select Agent Program, the FSAP, regulates, along with the CDC, the use and transfer of biological agents and toxins being bioweapons, which these things would be classified as until proven different. And there's been a big, until now, a pushback against it, but now it looks like they're pushing it through. And I want to bring to your attention a study done by Dr. Elaine Ingham out of Oregon State University back in the 90s. Is when they first started doing this, right? When they were doing the Terminator seeds out of the late 80s, along with the glyphosate dependent seeds, all of it. Well, she led a study on genetically engineered soil bacterium that was coming out through Bayer. And her finding was that it threatens all plant life on Earth. In the 1990s, Monsanto Bayer developed something called Klebsiella planticola. In its natural form, it actually helps to decompose plant matter, right? So, the compost, they're doing great stuff to just, consolidate the plant matter. Yeah, right. But K. planticola, which was intended to convert plant waste into alcohol, okay, for fertilizer and fuel production, right? Again, ethanol. Summit Solutions by Rofstetter, I still have to get back to him. Ethanol Summit Solutions, and what's going on in Brazil and the connection with the World Economic Forum's Disease X situation, Lula, the situation of the selling off of the Amazon to Pfizer et al. To develop 4 billion bushels of corn, that it's not only for ethanol, this is to grow vaccines and to pollute the food supply. And so they want to replace, so what Dr. Ingham's study found was that K. planticola killed every single plant that was tested. Every single plant. She did an independent study on K. planticola. It killed every single plant. And her summarization of this, her summary, was that it has the potential to kill all natural terrestrial plants on the planet if it gets out of control and spreads. It's deadly to all plant life. and which they want to replace, of course, with patented organisms, plants filled with sensors, filled with tags that can be absolutely surveilled by AI at all times. And the GMO created plant life will be the only plant life that survives on Earth. So they'll all be tagged, tokenized, of course, for the NACs if that gets through. So another thing about the natural asset corporations, they kind of jumped the shark here trying to do this so early, probably because they're afraid of Trump getting back in. And so they wanted to push this real hard now to say, hey, we're going to come and we're going to steal the land and we're going to replace it with all this GMOs and sensors, the intra-body nano network. It's not just about humans, it's about all living things, right? And we're going to build an Internet of Bodies surveillance system using AI with everything being censored with an S, sensors deployed everywhere, the smart dust, everything, the nano, all being used and tokenized, okay? And so that can be surveilled and traded on the stock exchange, so that you can see who's doing well with their management of the resources. And these resources, things like ethanol and solar, wind farms, all of it, those resources are okay for development under the NACs. It's just those awful, dirty things that God and the earth creates, like water, oil, right, natural gas, everything that the earth seems to replenish, the earth does replenish in its natural cycles of producing sustainability on its own. It turns out the earth is its own sustainability producer through God. And so, yeah, that's what they're trying to make happen here. And what happened to Dr. Ingham is she lost her job at Oregon State University because it was hugely biotech funded, and she was forced out. And but she stopped the rollout, in the late 90s of K. planticola by Bayer. Thank you so much, Dr. Ingham. We appreciate you and applaud you for everything you did to delay the poisoning and takeover of the world's farming. And so this became a company out of Bayer that is now going on steroids. It was called Biologicals by Bayer. By 2019, they had 125,000 wild microbial strains being geoengineered. And they partnered with Ginkgo Bioworks in 2022 to the tune of $15 billion in order that they could get research and development funding to create what they want to be an automated genetic engineering platform of thousands of these GMO microbes at once of various different kinds, targeting different things. And their number one bacteria-based development is fungicides, and plant growth promoting products. But when we look at fungicides, we look at disease X, we look at the spreading of mRNA through food production, through animals, the shots. It's been happening since 2020. The shots of mRNA into farm animals. You have to only eat organic, grass finished, know who you're buying your meats from. And I would especially be very wary of anything poultry right now when they're pushing this avian flu thing. And of course, pray for these poor animals, because I'm sure they're about to slaughter millions more of them, as they do constantly as this goes on. And so the pesticides by Bayer, as I said, will continually be used in conjunction with this, what is produced by Ginkgo Bioworks. They'll be interdependent, one upon the other, right? And so Gates then also funded something called Pivot Bio, meaning pivot the biology, God-given biology, to something else, right? To something synthetic, to something biosyn. And what we get here is genetically engineered nitrogen binding bacteria, is what they were hoping. But they had no independent science studies allowed to investigate this, no proof of efficacy at all whatsoever. It failed, just as Monsanto's drought-resistant corn failed enormously, except to harm all the independent farmers out there and all the lawsuits that came out of that. They killed about 30% of rice production, were destroyed through these same products used in the drought-resistant corn, and the same thing with the drought-resistant rice. And then we get Bayer, its ills, everything from way back, whether it was Zyklon B in Nazi Germany that was made to be manufactured in the slave camps, in the concentration camps by the prisoners, or the Monsanto running the chemical side of the Manhattan Project, right out there in Hanford, Washington, and the surrounding areas where they developed the Manhattan Project, and you had thousands and thousands of people die from the radiation drift that came out of the development of plutonium for the atomic bomb. And yeah, these are the people that you want being aligned with your One Health, right? One Health with the U.S. government. And so that's the story on Ginkgo Bioworks. They're basically developing automated systems for GMO soil bacterium that are completely unnatural synthetic biology that present a threat to all farming on the planet. Okay. And so let's move on from there. I think I'm going to get to, I'll kind of end up here with the Disease X platform today. Now, it wasn't very exciting. It was very thrilling in any way, because of course they couch all their terms in all the same terminology they always use. It's always like, we're going to help everybody, etc. Oh, but I did want to mention, because I brought out Lloyd Austin, his prostate cancer, his flesh-eating bacteria, the fact that we have no Secretary of Defense, is Stravitis still going to come in. We had, as I said yesterday, Mark Milley there in Davos. Today we had Paul Ryan seen walking the streets of Davos. Ryan, the Bush guy on the board of Fox News, walking around in Davos. This is, as we see the Haley DeSantis thing arriving in New Hampshire, and how to do this damage control, how they're going to push. We've seen the reports come out where Nikki Haley got a tons of Democratic votes that went to that one county that didn't go for Trump out of all the other counties. He lost one, and it was because at the nth hour, you had a ton of Democrats go and vote in the Republican primary, which should not be allowed. They're not Republicans. They went and voted for Haley, and that's their strategy. That's why we saw CNN and all these other MSM networks get up there and say, hey, we already called it for Trump, because they wanted to prevent people from standing in the freezing cold at the caucuses to continue to vote for Trump, because they were trying to push this Haley deceptive thing of crossover vote from Dems. Now, that's not allowed in New Hampshire, and so we're going to see what happens there. We know that's the Sununus. We know that's the Pandora, right? The Pandora's box that Mike Gill always talks about, that massive control of this huge laundering center there in New Hampshire. And so it's huge what's going to happen there, and we'll get more into that. But yeah, so when we look at the Disease X panel today at the World Economic Forum, tomorrow the big one I think is Alex Soros attending the how do we handle elections of 4.2 billion people that are going to happen this year? Well, we're already seeing how they're playing it out here in the U.S. Oh, if we can't get the machine fraud in the caucuses, we have to at least use the Democrats. We have Democrats saying that they'll block a vacation of the seat in the House to do with Johnson, Bible McCarthy. Again, you still need to make that call, 202-225-3121. Tell your representative you absolutely will not support the spending bill. Okay, we have Friday night, tomorrow night, at midnight, the government shuts down if they don't pass this fraudulent, awful spending bill. So there's that. But what we look at with Disease X, the platform there in WEF today, we saw pretty much they're going off what they already did in 2018. It was even before the Event 201 for COVID, for coronavirus. It was Clade X, the Clade X exercise in 2018 that preceded it. And in this one, it was even bigger than Event 201, right? They decided to dial it back because they in my guesstimation, they want something deadlier, right? And Spanish flu was pretty effective, right? It was like massive, killed tons. If they use the same situation of the mass social distancing, stay inside, all this, double pneumonia or avian flu or weaponized bacterial pneumonia is even more harmful. And of course, what so many people said to die of COVID died from was actual pneumonia from being stuck in their houses with, wearing masks, going out, social isolation. And of course, social isolation is really, really bad for the brain as well. You get Dr. Nels, right, out of Germany, Michael Nels, saying, in his book, The Indoctrinated Brain, talking about the mental immune system and how this attacking of the spike protein on the brain, plus the situation of isolation, that the hippocampus, the thing that keeps us cognizant, what he says is that Alzheimer's is a social condition created by what we eat and what has gone on with changing our habits to keep us entrained to these devices and being socially disconnected and isolated does not grow. You need to have interaction, curiosity, the ability and desire to move out into the world, to experience life with people, with the world, instead of being shut up in your home. It started with the radio, then it was the TV, now it's the internet, now it's the social media. And the lack of human interaction and the entrainment to devices that are engaged with EMF, that are literally directly targeting your brain and your thoughts and your biology, is the number one threat to neurological health. And so when we look at what's going on here with Clade X, what they had said in 2018, again, John Hopkins, Gates, the WHO, all of it, the UN, Clade X was their tabletop exercise then in 2018. And in their guesstimation there, what they were wargaming was saying, hey, 1/3 of the U.S. Congress is dead, okay? You have martial law, you have the president and the vice president in critical condition, okay? It's just interesting that they're rolling this out now, right? And that you had 20 million in the U.S. dead. They started the war game by saying, oh, it's 12% of U.S., but it ends up being 20 million, 12% of the global population dies. Okay, they said there would be maybe 12 million in the U.S., but maybe it'd be more like 20 million, and all medical and health facilities are seized by the government. This is in their Clade X. I'll link below a good video about it. I've talked about it years ago, but we'll just re-up your memory. And so basically they plan to kind of go on this one, a bigger death count, a bigger effect. And so let's move over to what happened there at the Disease X World Economic Forum today. And again, tomorrow I'll get to you with Alex Soros, okay, George Soros' son, guiding the World Economic Forum on how we deal with 4.2 billion people voting in what is like 30, 40 plus countries where there's a huge populism push. And so it's the most important voting year in the entire world history right now for humanity saving its freedom. And so where we go here with the World Economic Forum preparing for Disease X, they say, we're preparing for Disease X. And what they say is basically not like, how do we stop it? We're preparing for it. Okay. And this was very milquetoast, okay? But in their lingo, they say everything about, we need totalitarianism, we need full surveillance, we need total health control by the WHO. We need to spread out this infrastructure right now to make sure that we can get all those things. And it's very interesting who the players were. And so you had Tedros Ghebreyesus, the WHO Director General, and he would be in charge if they pass the pandemic treaty, which the time is running out here in a few days, or about 10 days for the comments on the amendments to the treaty. It could even expire, but that doesn't seem likely. We get Preetha Reddy, her family owns a massive empire in health care in India. Apollo Health is the name, Apollo Health, saying we must be ready as if this was a war at the border, which I thought was really funny. It's a war at the border. Hey, come to our border. You want to see all the infectious diseases coming across. She said we must look at it like we would see an enemy approaching the border. I thought that was classic. Preetha Reddy, her family, the massive empire of Apollo Health in India. And it's been a lot of India newscasters talking about this sort of avian flu, double pneumonia, Spanish flu-like next pandemic coming out. So I thought that was interesting. And everybody's talking about the use of AI for surveillance of the population's health. Gets again into the intra-body nano network, the sensors in all of our bodies, connected to the cell phone readouts and constant interaction with these sensors, constantly feeding information of data back on our health to the powers that be there controlling the AI. And you get Nícia Lima, who is Brazilian health minister, who I talked about before, who, again, the situation of the massive attempt by the NACs was going to be huge in Brazil because they are, with Lula, as she said, that Lula was essential in getting this to happen, the presidency of him being key, because Bolsonaro would have tried and was stopping Pfizer's Pfizer was leveraging natural assets of these third world countries, basically saying that we'll send you all these vaccines, but you have to sign this lovely contract that signs away your natural resources, right? So this is 2.0. The NACs are 2.0 because they were already Pfizering this a long time ago with all of the global contracts that were made for Pfizer during the pandemic, threatening them, hey, you can all die or we can give you these vaccines and you can live, but you have to sign over your natural resources and your military bases in a lot of situations. And Bolsonaro, of course, was totally against that. This is about the takeover of the Amazon, cutting down the lungs of the planet in order to destroy the lungs of humanity, and to grow these vaccines in corn and soybeans and massively corn and ethanol in Brazil. And so she basically said that she wants an alliance for long-term vax development in her country, in every third world country, right? So that's bringing Pfizer back into control. And of course, mass health surveillance is essential. That we need early warning surveillance, and of course this will be done by AI. That was put forward by other people like Demar out of AstraZeneca and Roy Jacobs out of the Philips Healthcare conglomeration, saying that AI can be basically, my words, the pre-crime to disease, and that through this intra-body nano network, we can get all the data we need to inform us what's happening where with people's health, disease outbreaks, etc. And so Preetha Reddy also, she said there's 600,000 villages in India, and we have to basically gain health control over them all, Apollo Health empire. And she said that in COVID, they were able to train 150,000 civilians on how to work ventilators, okay, non-medical personnel, your civilians being trained. Would you want your life, somebody who's never, has no knowledge of even health, is going to come in and run your ventilator, okay? We know the ventilators were a massive health scam and fraud, killed millions of people, suppressing the lungs, suppressing the ability to breathe instead of helping it, especially then they pump in the remdesivir, etc. But she's basically saying we need this kind of thing for disease X, for the next one. We need tens of hundreds of thousands of people to be brought on board, okay, to be deployed in this next pandemic to operate your essential life-saving treatments. Yeah, that's a winner. And so there really was not tons more being said at this. It was all about centralizing control. It was all about the use of AI. I think it's really important to understand that their partnership is with the Collaborative Surveillance Initiative of the World Economic Forum. Collaborative Surveillance Initiative, this is getting into your Internet of Bodies surveillance. That's what it's about. Plus, enforcing all hospitals, healthcares, and private institutions the private sector, your jobs, your who employs you, to have to come on board and be forced to give your data, your health data, to collect it and report it to a centralized body out of the WHO. And the other partnership is with the Health System, Partnership for Health System Sustainability. You can read that as Supremacy. And when we look at their statement and the opening statement of what is, and the moderator here at this was Dr. Nancy Brown, the CEO of the American Heart Association. She was the moderator for this. The American Heart Association, they're making buku bucks for the cardiologists in America, who are, up to their massive bank accounts in this, for the massive amounts of heart conditions, cardiovascular disease, all of the stuff with the microclotting, the major failure of organs, all of it. And so she was actually, Dr. Nancy Brown was the moderator of this whole discussion. And she said only the World Economic Forum can make the needed healthcare reset a reality, that she trusts in them. She has since 2019 when she first came and saw it all happen. And but we need to look at this opening statement. With the WHO continuing to research the potential of disease X, what novel meaning never before seen, efforts are needed to prepare, read control, the nations, to prepare health care systems for the multiple challenges, read assaults, for entertainment purposes only, coming ahead. And so that's how I would cover the Disease X panel. A lot of gobbledygook. It was only 47 minutes long. It was not very interesting, but the players are interesting. Tedros, of course, but you get Preetha Reddy. Her family owns the massive Apollo Health in India. You get Nicia Lima, the Brazil health minister. You get Dr. Nancy Brown, the CEO of American Heart Association. You get Michel Dimare out of AstraZeneca, talking about how they partnered with Oxford and made all these deals with different central health agencies, and very involved with McKinsey and Company there as well. And so I think that's where I'm going to leave it here at 52 minutes. We can see how this is all interconnected, right? We see how the Porton Down facility, the new Disease X massive P4 lab there going on in Wiltshire, England, where it is the most protected military installation in the country, partnering, the UK, UN, USA alliance here of One Health to share this biological warfare information with each other. The announcement, of course, at the World Economic Forum, and the attempted takeover by the NACs, which I am sure that Gates is fuming at the mouth. I hope a little bit today. We hope he got him a little bit fuming that the NACs were postponed. Big ups to all of you, and to Marlo Oaks, the treasurer out of Utah. It's not over, folks. This is just the beginning of the fight, but we've pushed them back. This is like if you're in a battle and somebody's coming at you and you have an offensive and you push them back. We push them back from our harm. Huge, huge. But you still need to go to americanstewards.us, read the comments that were sent to the SEC, build on them, send your comments. It's still important. They're still open until tomorrow. So let's get involved still. Sovereigntycoalition.org to hit up your representatives and get it done, right? And so thanks so much for watching, folks. I really appreciate you. I'll do a small plug here at the end. I'll just say if there was added value in this video, if you felt that you are getting something from this channel that is helping you, gain some ground in the information war, that you're actually able to see things a little clearer, or if I cover things that maybe everybody isn't covering, that if you want to support the channel, I super appreciate it. And I'll also say that C60 Evo does also support this channel. c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. C60 Evo, this is carbon 60, the ESS 60 molecule. Basically, it is an incredible antioxidant, anti-inflammation, anti-big C, anti-brain demise. It really helps with cleaning your cells out, and cellular health is the number one thing. So the main thing it really does, how it fights inflammation, how it fights brain fog, how it fights CANCER, how it fights these things, is because it cleans out the garbage from your cells. And it allows them to be able to produce the ATP that allows your body to do all the fighting. Because your body being able to produce ATP, okay, cellular energy production, depends on the garbage getting cleaned out of the cells, right? It goes right into the mitochondria, cleaning it out, basically capturing all the garbage so that the glutathione, the melatonin, your natural hormones can get in there and take it out. And I love them. Oh, and if you contribute to the channel, you get 20% off. And that is sent to you, 15% off, not 20, 15% off. And that is sent to you in a different email and a different link. So I thank you so much for watching, folks. We are free. We got a big win today with the natural asset companies. And we're seeing a massive turn towards the truth, and everybody waking up. MSM is failing. They've canceled the debates between DeSantis and Haley. I think Haley said it's because Trump won't participate, but really we know there's the behind the scenes deal. We have Paul Ryan there in Davos right now getting his walking orders, his walking papers, what he's supposed to do to control these Bushite candidates, and what deals they can offer. And, likely it'll be Haley offering DeSantis a VP-ship. And don't pay attention to any of these rumors about Elise Stefanik being Trump's VP. It's just mainstream media, total propaganda. Anyhow, we go on, we continue, and we put on God's armor, right? We get out there as warriors for the Prince of Peace. We literally push back BlackRock, okay? The NACs, they have to regroup and try again. That was you, because we are free, and you are a warrior for the Prince of Peace. I'll see you next time.